not named, but who's been with me since the beginning, before the show was even...
Well, stop and think about it. On the Joe wouldn't sound very good, right? I mean, even...
No.
On words, it wouldn't sound very good.
No, and even as Than said, if one of the co-hosts had been named John...
On the John, that
right,
would
that would have been bad. We could have been the number one show in the Valley.
Or if someone's name was Fritz, on the Fritz.
Right, that could be our engineering show.
That's true.
That we're going to be doing. Or if we were one of the Teletubbies, we could be on the Blinky. So it's
so much for that.
Right. So if we were a vacation show, it could be on the vacation, but I don't know. I guess we're stretching this a little bit. But yes, welcome aboard to everybody. A very weak punster, and it's not his favorite form of humor. Joe McGranahan, my co-host. He is the mayor of Shamokin Dam, ultra-conservative when it comes to the U.S. Constitution, hates political correctness, but very much interested in fairness and understanding and listening to all sides of topics. In a moment, we're going to be introducing movie Mike McGranahan. He's going to be talking to us about the death yesterday of Robin Williams, so that's going to occupy the first portion of our program. We really think appropriate tribute should be paid to one of the most talented actors that's out there, was out there, and so we're going to talk about that. On the other side of the glass, the man who's trying to fix all the things I broke with the video cam, it is Kevin Hur, greatest engineer the world has ever known, has entire galaxies full of awards that he had to jettison into space because there were just too many of them.
Did he turn the lights up in here? It seems brighter in here this morning.
I know the lights have two settings, and I would say at least that one is on the higher of the two.
They seem to be.
I don't know. I just plug them in.
I can actually see today.
I just plug them in, and then they go on. But he is dealing with the camera right now, so he's not going to talk to us while he gets ready for that. But as I mentioned, he makes the webcam work despite the fact that I turn almost everything off that he turns on. The webcam is up and running. It's a great HD image. You can use it as a 24-hour archive right at WKOK.com, or go to our YouTube channel, please. And there the archive of previous shows are posted along with new video. We're going to soon have a video up of Joe McGettigan and Frank Fina speaking recently on the Geisinger campus. The Penn State prosecutors, interesting remarks about Jerry Sandusky, so excerpts of their remarks will be posted, and we invite you to check that out.
I made no such remarks.
Joe, did I say McGranahan? Oh, McGettigan. Joe McGettigan.
No, it sounded like McGranahan.
Oh, did it? Okay. Well, yeah, it's McGettigan is his name. He's an attorney in the Philadelphia area. And Frank Fina, of course, is an assistant district attorney in the city of Philadelphia right now. So that's on the YouTube channel. So check out those excerpts as soon as Sarah Bartlett gives us the thumbs up that they're ready to go. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. We'll read your email on the radio. Lenape's at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. They're doing a booming business, making sure that folks are ready for what could be a chilly winter where you just want a little inexpensive supplemental heat in a couple of rooms. It doesn't blow cold air in a room. It blows hot air into a room because they use a heat pump, and then, of course, in the summer you can use it for cooling. And the heat pumps by Fujitsu.
You do a good job of that,
system. What's that?
Blowing hot air into a room.
Thank you. Says the man who taught me half of what I know, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And, boy, you're a little wound up today.
I am wound up.
What was I saying? Oh, 140 South 2nd Street. And believe it or not, they have some of these ductless HVAC systems on display, so you can see them in all their glory. HVAC stands for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. LenapeSolar.com stands for efficient heat. The toll-free line is open. You simply call 1-800-795-9565, and Blinky's here, and so we get to find out what you have got to say. Again, we're going to talk about Robin Williams early on, but memorize the number, 1-800-795-WKOK. We'd love to hear from you. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been in business since 1915, always family-owned and operated. You can go down and see Tom Mertz right now if you'd like to see one of the Mertzy founders. 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 to 15 Hummels Wharf is the Kia dealership, but they sell Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln cars and trucks. If you'd like a new vehicle and you want to check it out online first, go to sunburymotors.com. You can even build a Ford car or truck to your precise specifications, then go pick it up. You can even build it backwards, meaning start out with something very important like four-wheel drive, or in Kevin's case, has to be able to haul the family around and that growing teenage boy in comfort to and from one of the Carolina beaches. So he'll tell you about how he picked his car going backwards on a website. SunburyMotors.com is the main website.
You want to go see one of the Mertzy founders?
Mertz.
You said Mertzy.
Well,
Mertzy founders may sound like a child is down there founding the company.
Well, compared to his elders, he is.
Okay.
We are going to scan news headlines during the 9 o'clock hour. There's no breaking news that's popping up on this, but yesterday we had a lot of words initially and a lot of reaction to the death of Robin Williams. So to that end, we welcome to the microphones here Mike McGranahan is here, Movie Mike, as he's known around here. His typical.
He doesn't use his last name. He's embarrassed about it.
Oh, is he?
And who could blame him?
If I were your father, wouldn't you be embarrassed about it too?
I don't know.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'd be happy to answer that for you.
I don't know. I have the official Movie Mike McGranahan bio introduction from Friday mornings, and the first 3 words are, what? Movie Mike
McGranahan, yeah.
Right, so I guess on WKOK, he's not, the figures the listenership is so small that he's not worried about it or whatever.
I see, okay.
Maybe, and it's plummeting now, I can tell you that.
Going right down the tubes.
We really do thank you so much for coming on board. I don't know where to even begin with Robin Williams other than whenever I think of him, I don't think of any of the comedic appearances. I think of the Dead Poets Society. We're just an inspiring performance by that. So such a wide range. So your initial impressions when you heard the news and as we reflect on his life and career.
I was sitting at home on my laptop, and I checked my email, and there was an email alert from Variety that said, Robin Williams dead of possible suicide. And my first words were, oh no. And my wife looked at me and said, what? And I said, Robin Williams apparently killed himself. So it was really shocking. I mean, here was a man who was known for his humor and his comedy and his warmth, and we knew he had demons. He battled addiction to cocaine in the 80s, alcohol later on. But I don't think anybody knew his demons ran that deep, and it was really a surprise to hear that he had killed himself.
He was just back into rehab again in the last month, it said, and he was supposed to stay there for several months, but none of the reports that I heard mentioned the amount of time he spent there. Did he leave early? Did he get out of it? Or, you know, I hate to think that he got out and it could have saved his life if he had stayed a while longer.
I don't think we know. I don't think they've ever really openly discussed how long he was there. Supposedly he was there for long-term sobriety, just sort of a check-in to help him maintain it. But obviously that was a stage where he had reached a crisis point in terms of his depression and was seeking help. So whatever happened there apparently wasn't enough.
And you're a person with some sensitivities and training and career experience when it comes to helping individuals with mental health. When someone says they commit suicide and depression is a factor, this is something you've dealt with and know about and have some understanding of the depth that this depression can take an individual.
Yeah, I've worked in the past, in the early days when I was still trying to get going as a film critic, I worked in a drug and alcohol facility, and I've worked with people who are depressed and things like that. And the important thing to remember is that people say, well, how can you do this? You know, he had a wife, he had children, he had family, how could he do this? The important thing to remember is that when people become suicidal, it's not that they want to die necessarily, it's that they want to stop the pain. They just don't want to hurt anymore. And when it gets to the point where they think that nothing is going to take that pain away, that's when they become suicidal. And surely that's what happened to Robin Williams. I mean, by every other account, he had a pretty happy life. He was married, he had kids, he had a successful career, he had lots of fans who loved him. But he apparently got to the point where he felt that nothing was going to make a difference, and so he decided that he didn't want to be in pain anymore.
So with all those positive things going, why was he depressed?
Well, clinical depression is something that affects anybody. It is a disease, and it doesn't matter if you're a nobody, if you're the biggest star in the world. It's something that comes on. It's an imbalance in the brain chemistry. It can affect anybody. It can afflict anybody. And, you know, again, he battled many demons over the years that were surely connected with that. And it's a disease that can be treated, but it can't really be cured.
Well, I saw a psychiatrist on television this morning who said that you shouldn't just stop at one practitioner. If you go somewhere and you see somebody and they don't help you, don't stop there. Keep going, because there are treatments out there. He mentioned some type of immersion therapy, a drug, I forget what it was, that has worked wonders with therapy. Do you think that he got enough help?
It's a
from
question
what you heard. I mean,
well, it's a question of whether he got the right kind of help, because there are many different types of help available, and there are many different schools of therapy out there. And what Mark needs might be different from what I need, and that might be different from what you need. So you do really have to connect with the people who are going to give you the kind of help that you're going to be receptive to.
Boy, I'll just tell you, open the door there. What is it that Joe needs? Is such a
He's been trying to figure that out for some 45 years.
Such an unanswered question. Okay, all right. So the mental health aspect of certainly worth delving into. This concept of depression. Depression, as you've aptly stated, is a disease that anybody can get, much the same as a heart condition or some other type of germ or bacteria-related ailment. Anybody can get it, whether you're successful or not. So that's well said. Let's talk about this film and TV and entertainment career. I mean, really, tell me this. What is it that Robin Williams couldn't do?
There's nothing he couldn't do. And I think his career proved that. He could do comedy, he could do drama, he could do thrillers, he could do romance. There was nothing he couldn't do.
And your favorite films and or entertainment? I mean, it might have been a stand-up. What's your favorite Robin Williams?
For me, probably Good Morning Vietnam, because as somebody who grew up in and around radio stations, I felt he really nailed something in that role, which is that we don't really call them DJs anymore. We call them on-air personalities. But DJs tend to have a very boundary-pushing sense of humor. Sometimes they're a little anti-establishment. They're often funnier and more irreverent off the mic than they are on. I think he really captured that. That was certainly one of my favorite performances from him. And another one on the complete opposite end of the spectrum was a movie called 1 Hour Photo, which wasn't a huge box office hit, but he played a lonely guy who worked in a 1-hour photo booth and became obsessed with a family whose pictures he developed. And he decided that because he had access to their private pictures, that he was their friend, and when they didn't want him as their friend, he kind of crossed some boundaries. So there's two really different ends of the spectrum for Robin Williams, the comedic end and the dramatic end, and he did them both brilliantly.
And what a live comedic actor too. I mean, you would see him in live performances, and just as quick. All those the talents that you would see in a film are scripted, but the stuff that you could see live, just as rich, just as inspiring sometimes.
And I think that really was his gift. His comedy worked because he had a very quick mind and he could come up with things on the spot. His dramatic roles worked because he obviously did face some demons, so he understood that. He understood a deeper level of humanity than a lot of actors understand, because he had been an addict and he had been depressed and he had come through that, and he'd had really good times and really low times. So the irony is that his difficulties are probably what fueled both his comedy and his drama, because he did joke about his own troubles in his comedy. And that is often true with comedians. They often have personality disorders. They often have demons. I mean, you look at John Belushi and Chris Farley, just to name two other ones who left us way too early.
Does he have any films in the can, or nearly in the can? As many lately, anyway. It seems as though some actors have left.
He has 4 movies still to come, including Night at the Museum 3, which is due out this Christmas, so we will see a few more performances from him.
Wow, that's something.
Mike, I'm sorry, I was going to ask Mike, is there the Christmas movie that he was doing, is that actually going to be able to make it out? Or was that already filmed?
That was already filmed. His part was done, yes. He did a Christmas comedy co-starring with Lauren Graham that's supposed to come out later this year.
What about the crazy ones? Do you think part of his depression was over that show being canceled fairly late in the season, or late in the game?
Knowing some things about depression, I don't think that was necessarily one of the bigger parts of it. I suspect it ran a lot deeper than that, but he did have a TV show called The Crazy One that was canceled after one season. His film career really hasn't been in great shape the last few years. He's, and I love Robin Williams, but let's be honest, he made some really classic movies, but he also made a lot of bad movies. And he made a lot of bad movies in the last few years, movies like The Big Wedding and License to Wed and stuff like that. So that may have been a small part of it, but people who are that severely depressed, it's not just going to be about one thing, it's going to be about many things.
Do you think his career was on the decline?
No, I think the problem was that people didn't always know how to use him. He was such a unique talent. And the fact that he made a number of bad movies and people still loved him is a tribute to his talent, because a lot of times you make too many flops in a row, especially if you're a comedian, and the opportunities dry up. I mean, that's something we saw with Chevy Chase. Too many flops in a row, and all of a sudden he wasn't being cast in movies anymore. Robin Williams continued to work and continued to get lead roles in movies, so he was able to weather the storm of the bad ones, and that's a tribute to his talent, but also the fact that people just genuinely loved him.
Were the bad ones the result of poor management or poor decisions on his part, or was he just doing the movies for a paycheck?
No, I don't think he was doing it for a paycheck. I think that when he had great scripts and directors who knew what to do with him, he really shined. And where he faltered was where he had directors who just said, turn on the camera and let Robin do his thing.
I see Kevin and I were having a discussion before the program started, and Kevin thought that was his great strength. I remember on Mork and Mindy, the writers would sometimes put a line in, Mork does his thing, and let him ad-lib. Wasn't that his strength?
That was his strength, but that's not appropriate to every movie or TV show. You know, and there was a movie last year called The Big Wedding, which was on my list of the 10 worst films of the year, where he played a priest, and there was no character drawn. It was just like, okay, Robin, come in and do your thing. And he came in and did it, and it was totally out of sync with the rest of the film. And it wasn't funny because they didn't put him in a funny situation that allowed him to use his improvisational humor. So I don't think the fault was really his. I think that not every filmmaker knew what to do with him.
But Barry Levinson was one that got it really right with Good Morning Vietnam. As you mentioned, had a character structure, but then let Robin Williams go.
Right, that was the key. But, you know, that's a good point. This is a partial list of the directors Robin Williams worked with. Robert Altman, Barry Levinson, George Roy Hill, Michael Ritchie, Paul Mazursky, Harold Ramis, Terry Gilliam, Peter Weir, Steven Spielberg, Mike Nichols, Francis Ford Coppola, Woody Allen, Gus Van Sant, and Christopher Nolan. I mean, who else in show business has worked with all of these A-list directors? It's just incredible. And that's only a partial list.
And most of his films are hits, right?
A lot of them were hits. He did make some flops, too. Like I said, some of his movies weren't very good. Toys was one. I will actually defend Toys a little bit.
Really? I'm surprised about that. I figured you wouldn't like that one.
I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it was an ambitious movie, and I kind of appreciate that about it.
See, that's one where I thought that they could have opened him up a little bit more and left him go a little bit more, but it just didn't seem to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big flop for him back in 90. It was 91 or 92. Again, I'll defend it a little bit because I don't think that it was a bad movie. I think it was a movie that aimed high and missed. But I'll give a movie like that points for trying.
Is there any truth to the law? I read this somewhere years ago that when he was voicing Aladdin, they actually brought the artist in the studio just to be able to capture him a little bit better, and they ended up adding frames to it where it's just Genie in spots, or they had to add him because he went on a little bit, where he vamped a little bit, he ad-libbed a little bit. Is there any truth to that?
I've heard that too, yeah. And if you look at the movie, there are times when Aladdin looks like Robin Williams. They clearly drew him to have Robin Williams' facial expressions.
And there's a lot of scenes that's just that I found just Genie. And nothing else. You know, they've isolated him, and I felt that was one they added.
Yeah, they let him go off and do his thing. But there again, that was a case where there was a structure around it. There were moments where they let him do his thing.
That's a good point.
To punctuate the story. And it worked. And when you would just let him run wild, that was where it would be a little more of a problem. But when he had a good structure, he really knew how to shine.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we would invite you to join in our reflections and observations related to the late Robin Williams, the actor who took his own life yesterday, suffering from depression, according to some of his friends and managers, and apparently felt that was the end that he wanted at that time. But we're talking about just decades of fantastic movie making, live comedy, television comedy, interviews that were just a hoot to watch when he was interviewed by someone, and Jumanji, and just Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, we can
Mrs.
just
Doubtfire.
How many films did he make?
I didn't even count, but it was a lot.
Okay, so yeah, he was always working. 1-800-795-9565. We loved your observations as well. Join us in the conversation about Robin Williams. 1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free line. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
The Peters family has been selling and servicing GE home appliances in downtown Sunbury for 54 years. At Peters, we're just as proud to be selling them today. GE Appliances and Peters Home Appliance Center offer some great appliance ideas. Ideas like the huge 29 cubic foot French door refrigerator with twin chill evaporators to maximize freshness and food storage. And it's made in America. Catch up on your wash day with a 3.9 cubic foot capacity GE washer with Hydro Wave wash system. This washer changes the amount of agitation action for maximum performance, all while being more gentle on your clothes. Or choose GE's huge 4.8 cubic foot capacity high efficiency washer. This model uses GE's Clean Speed communication system to talk to the matching dryer. No need to set the drying cycle, just load it up and it sets the proper cycle for you. And yes, it's made in America too. If you're looking for your next major appliance, get to Peters Home Appliance Center for more technology. And remember, at Peters, we service after the sale. Peters Home Appliance Center, Market Street, Sunbury.
Steelers head into a series of practices with the Bills. They also have another preseason game coming up. Dave Bryan covers the Steelers on a regular basis. We'll talk about them this afternoon, 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Strong as 10 regular men, definitely.
He faced the galloping hordes.
100 bad guys with swords.
Who sent those goons to their lord?
By Prince Ali. He's got 75 golden cans.
Don't they look lovely, June?
Purple peacocks, he's got 53.
Fabulous, Harry. I love the feathers. When it comes
Wonderful,
to
wonderful, wonderful. Really, half the range depicted right there. In that. So thank you very much, Kevin. Very much appreciated.
Actually, I have one more from Mrs. Doubtfire that I thought really showed his abilities. It was one scene where he's applying for, looking for a job.
What do you mean you do voices? Well, I do voices.
Yeah! We've come to this planet looking for intelligent life. Oops, we made a mistake.
We're happy to be in America. Don't ask for a green card.
I want you in the worst way.
Well, it's certainly a rough meeting, and it's not going very well for me, I'll tell you that. Hey, boss, give it a chance. She's going to loosen up any moment.
Look at me right now, Moneypenny. I want to undo that bow and get to know you.
I'm crazy to make a deal with you. Nancy and I are still looking for the other half of my head. Idiot! You're doing it! I'm sitting on a gold mine.
Don't make me smack you, sweetheart. I'll do it.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh! And that's real time. That's from the film.
They actually cut and pieced, I think, different things together, but it looks like one long just rant for him, one after the other, and they just cut and pasted what they wanted in there.
This morning they were showing the clip from Mrs. Doubtfire where he apparently has done something to choke the girl he's interested in's new husband or boyfriend, and he's yelling, "Help is on the way," and he gives the guy the Heimlich maneuver. It was a funny scene.
Yeah. Oh, well, and one of the most famous lines from that movie is, it was a run by fruiting.
Mm-hmm. A what? A run by fruiting.
Yeah,
okay.
he throws like a lemon or something to the back of the guy's head. He goes, "It was a run by fruiting."
More words about Robin. Your thoughts on that? The entertainment industry very much talking about this today.
Yeah, I mean, he was just as well known for being a nice guy as he was for his talents. And that's the thing. If you look at the tweets and things that the celebrities are putting out there, they're all saying the same thing. He was a great guy. He was so nice. He was so kind. Of course, he went to other countries and entertained our troops while they were serving.
Very much like Bob Hope in that regard.
Yeah.
Actually, a current Bob Hope, really, in his... how many times he did numerous USO tours.
Yeah, he did a lot on that. And, there again, just an example of what a fine human being he was. And, of course, let's not forget Comic Relief. He, Billy Crystal, and Whoopi Goldberg organized a number of telethons back in the, I can't remember if that was the late 80s or early 90s, or it may have been a little both, where they raised money, did a telethon every year, and brought together a lot of comedians. So he was very, very much a humanitarian as well as an actor.
All right.
He had 3 wives. The current wife is his third.
Yes.
And he has, 3 children or 4? 3 or 4, I forget.
I'm not sure. I know he has at least a boy and a girl.
I was thinking 3.
I'm thinking
Three
3
sounds
too.
right.
Yeah.
This is quite the program.
Well,
Let's guess at how many kids dead celebrities have. Come on, folks, weigh in on this.
Well, I
3.
was actually leading to a point, and
Is that
you know,
a guess, or do you know now?
Zelda is the youngest, then Cody and Zachary.
Okay. It's got to be difficult for them, too. I mean, you know, they had a celebrity father, came from a home life that maybe was less than traditional, you know, and to lose your father in such a way, it's got to be devastating for them.
Can you imagine being raised by Robin Williams? If you're not,
were they raised by Robin Williams?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you're
he was
not
very
fun
active.
and effervescent and searching for talent and displaying some of the traits he talked about in the Dead Poets Society, I think.
But none of them are actors or comedians, are they?
No, but I'm sure they're superlative in their talented way, whatever it happens to be.
Can you imagine being taught the birds and the bees from Robin Williams?
I can only wish that it had been that way.
What did he say? We spend 9 months trying to get out of the womb, and
The rest of our lives trying to get back in.
right. And so he's talking about men, of course. Joe,
I realize that.
for those. A minute left. Some additional thoughts, please.
Yeah, if you want to see Robin Williams' last really great performance, it's in a movie called World's Greatest Dad. I'm not going to tell you too much of what it's about because some of the success of the movie depends on surprise. I'm not going to pretend everybody will like this movie. It's very dark humor, but he gives an incredible performance in it. One of the best performances of his career. You can get it on Netflix, World's Greatest Dad. And if you want to honor Robin Williams by seeing a film of his that you haven't seen, I would recommend that one. Or go back and look at Christopher Nolan's Insomnia, which is another film he didn't get enough credit for. And he's in that one with Al
was a good
Pacino.
one. Yeah, that was a very good one.
So he'll be missed. I was a huge fan.
Played a very dark
Yeah.
killer, really, in that movie.
Is that the one where it takes place in Alaska? I think it is. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the first dramatic role I had seen him in, and I'm like, wow.
That's worth seeing again. I'm going to have to dig that one out of my collection and look at it again.
Yeah, me too.
Movie Mike McGranahan, a professional movie critic, straight up blatant. My Year of Chevy, his 2 books, one outselling the other. Well, I guess that's always been the case. Never mind.
I've been lucky, knock on wood.
How about it? Aisleseat.com, his main website, and at Aisleseat, his Twitter hashtag. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK, Sunbury, 9 a.m.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. Officials in the San Francisco Bay Area will have more to say a few hours from now about the apparent suicide of Robin Williams. One fan summed up the reaction of millions.
It's always sad when you find out that someone who had that type of influence on people loses their life, let alone but takes their own. It's sad.
Williams had the talent to make audiences laugh. Or to cry, or to think.
You don't know about real loss, because that only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself.
But couldn't conquer the demons of drink, drugs, and depression.
Williams made it so easy for others to laugh, but could struggle himself to find happiness. Earlier this summer, he was reported to have checked himself into a rehab center. In a statement, his family said the focus should not be on Robin's death, but on the countless moments of joy and laughter he gave to millions.
CBS's John Blackstone. Robin Williams was 63. In Ferguson, Missouri.
The highway patrol disperse immediately. Turn around.
Police had to use force again last night to break up a protest over the fatal police shooting of an unarmed teenager. CBS News correspondent Dean Reynolds.
Tear gas, roadblocks, and rubber bullets were all used to disperse a crowd overnight that had formed near the neighborhood where the 18-year-old was shot to death on Saturday by a police officer. This, as the victim's family and community leaders are calling for calm.
A record 5-inch rainfall has left some roads in Detroit and its suburbs underwater. Police are asking drivers to stay off expressways where standing water could make it impossible to get through. Mayor Jim Fouts says Warren, Michigan will need help to get back on its feet.
If ever there's a city that needs aid, Warren needs it now.
Forecast calls for some more rain today, but nothing like yesterday's deluge. A call for pension reform is coming from an unexpected source. Live to CBS News correspondent Vicki Barker.
The head of the Arizona Firefighters Association is urging the state's cops and firefighters to cut their own pension benefits. Among other things, Brian Jeffries, a fourth-generation fireman, argues that first responders have a responsibility to protect the public from financial as well as physical dangers. And Arizona's pension pots have been hit hard by the downturn. The New York Times notes other cash-strapped states will be watching the outcome of Jeffries' campaign. Frank?
What Russia says is a 280-truck humanitarian American convoy is barreling toward Ukraine, but the Ukrainian government smells a trick to help pro-Russian separatists. A spokesman says those trucks won't be allowed to cross the border.
We are telling Russia, stop the aggression. Stop everything that you are doing. Stop sponsoring the international terrorism. And there will be no need for any humanitarian aid.
The World Health Organization is giving its blessing to using unproven drugs to treat Ebola victims in Africa. One drug seemed to help 2 American missionaries. S&P futures are up 2 points just ahead of the opening bell. This is CBS News.
Last year, more than 3 million people got the works at their Ford dealer. What's the works? Well, when you ask for it at your Ford dealer, it means getting all the services your vehicle needs to keep it running right and saving at the pump. It's a synthetic blend oil change, not just regular oil. It means getting your brakes checked and tires rotated. It's a multi-point inspection, battery check, and fluid top-off. It also means getting your vehicle checked out by a certified and factory-trained Ford expert to make sure your vehicle is ready for the road ahead. Yeah, the works is a whole lot more than just an oil change. The best part, for a limited time, it also means saving a lot of money on all these services and more.
Right now, get the works for $39.95 or less minus a $10 mail-in rebate, making it just $29.95. Only at your Ford dealer.
Ford. Go further.
Up to 5 quarts oil. Taxes, diesel, and disposal fees extra. Rebate by prepaid debit card. Exclusions apply. See participating Ford dealer for rebate details through 8/31/14.
China is overjoyed by a blessed event, the birth of 1, 2, 3 panda cubs. CBS's Shannon Van Sant has the story from Beijing.
The cubs were born in the southern city of Guangzhou. The birth of the extremely rare triplets marks another success in the country's artificial breeding program. Photos showed the 3 sleeping and standing in their incubator. Pandas are an endangered species due to loss of habitat and low birth rates. There are only 1,600 left in the wild and 300 in captivity in China. Shannon Van Sant, CBS News, Beijing.
The government's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is warning about the risks of using Bitcoin and other virtual currencies. An advisory points out that they aren't backed by any government, can attract hackers and swindlers, and have the potential to fluctuate wildly. And one day last year, Bitcoin prices plunged as much as 61%. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
This is Charles Osgood. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to AutoOwners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranahan.
Good morning, Central Susquehanna Valley. I'm Mark Lawrence on WKOK Live.
You're no Robin Williams. Let me tell you, buddy.
I almost played that instead of potting you up. I did. That crossed my mind.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I've heard it 1,000 times in the past 12 hours, but yeah, nobody does it quite the way he did it in that movie. Good morning.
From the Delta to the DMZ.
Right. Yeah, well said. Thank you. Yeah, great movie. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. They invite you to go to the Quick Lane. Now, why would you want to do that, Joe? Because 2 things. One, you can get your smartphone on the free Wi-Fi there. In fact, I've seen you parked outside the Quick Lane just in your car using the free Wi-Fi on your smartphone or your laptop.
That's why I'm cheap.
Trying to get yeah, right, if nothing else. And also, while you're at the Quick Lane, you can take 20 minutes to half an hour, whatever it takes for them to check your belts and hoses and fluids. And they also would invite you to walk around the car lot. See your next Ford or Hyundai or Sterling truck. They would love to help you out at Sunbury Motors. They specialize in all types of service at the Quick Lane, and they'll give you a little bit of time to go out and look at the vehicles. Just give me your cell phone. When your vehicle's ready, they'll give you a buzz, and then you can walk back after looking at all those beautiful cars. You can check out Lincoln Navigator. You'd be perfect for a Lincoln Navigator pickup truck. Comfortable ride, seats 6 ultra comfortably, and has the pickup truck bed that you use approximately once every 7 years. So
don't think it would fit in my garage, but I wouldn't mind having one.
Oh, you got a small garage. Well, okay, well, so that kills that.
It's a big car or a big truck.
You need a bigger garage.
You're right.
That's your real issue. All right, all types of service are their specialty at the Quick Lane on North 4th Street in Sunbury. Get the information about them at sunburymotors.com. Lenape Solar email in-basket is open. Email on the market at WKOK.com. If you go solar, you boost the value of your home. You'll see a significant return on your investment. If you sell electricity to PPL, you can get a check from PPL Utilities, and at the same time you can use some of the excess heat to generate hot water for bathing and showering or whatever it happens to be, or dishwashing, and they would just love to help you out to do just that. Turning the sun on to your advantage. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. Our toll-free line is open over the next hour. We're going to find out about some news headlines in a second, but we invite you to call 1-800-795-WKOK. The webcam is up and running. Kevin makes it work perfectly, does the switching, puts key graphics on it, flops up little videos of our favorite businesses, our sponsors. So we appreciate that. Zoomed in on Movie Mike a little while ago, and he just makes the webcam worth watching. So do join us via the webcam at WKOK.com. Some quick news headlines. An Ohio teacher severely injured when that I-80 rock throwing incident happened in July has been moved to a rehabilitation hospital. 52-year-old Sharon Budd was riding on I-80 in Union County July 10th when a rock went through the windshield of her vehicle. She was moved from Geisinger Medical Center to Geisinger Health South. She's now being seen by staff with specialties that include treating brain injuries. She had several surgeries. Part of her brain was removed. She lost sight in at least one eye. Her husband says she can breathe on her own now and mouth basic words. Therapists hope to get her to sit and stand soon. 4 teenagers are charged as adults in that rock-throwing incident. They'll have a hearing in the coming days. Penn State's trustees will meet by phone later this week to discuss the status of a lawsuit by state officials against the NCAA. It's over the use of the $60 million fine the university is paying because of the Penn State child rape cover-up. A board spokesman said Monday it will conduct a public conference call at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow after a closed-door executive session. State Senator Jake Corman, who sued with the treasurer Rob McCord in an effort to keep the money in Pennsylvania, says there have been discussions, but a settlement isn't imminent. The NCAA declined comment. In April, Commonwealth Court added Penn State as a defendant in the suit and said it needed more information about whether the consent decree that authorized that fine itself had been enacted legally. In case you haven't heard, Moni Davis will be the first American girl headed to the Little League World Series in about a decade. She only wishes she had more company. Davis pitched a 3-hitter Sunday to lead Taney Youth Baseball Association Little League of Philadelphia to an 8-0 victory over a squad from Delaware. Davis, who struck out 6, will become the 18th girl to play in 68 years in the Little League World Series, joining Emma March of the Canada Region Champions from South Vancouver, Little League, British Columbia. Davis told the Philadelphia Inquirer she thinks more girls should join boys' teams so it could be a tradition rather than something unusual. And a Wisconsin church has held its annual pig wrestling fundraiser despite the protesters nearby. St. Patrick Parish in Stevensville said the pig wrestle has been a tradition for 44 years in Wisconsin and is a big draw for the church's fundraising picnic. Spectators in the stands cheered as participants chased a pig around a muddy pen in the picnic Sunday and tried to pin it, while dozens of demonstrators stood by in protest. Jordan Turner's president of Global Conservation, an animal rights group from Milwaukee, says tradition is no excuse for animal cruelty. He says the group's online petition generated 60,000 signatures in protest of the event. Local TV station says the event brings in about $3,000 annually for the parish, which has no plans to cancel next year's pig wrestle.
What's wrong with a good pig wrestle? Why would you oppose that?
I guess it's just hurting animals for amusement.
Does it hurt them, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, they squeal with
they squeal.
Protest and pain. They don't like it. So,
well, but they don't understand it. If you could explain to them, look, you're raising money for the church, and no one's going to hurt you.
Pigs are pretty smart. They probably could catch on, but apparently they're not given that opportunity. They don't speak the language, so they're not able to understand what their handlers are saying.
Part of our problem in this country. We don't all speak the same language.
Is it? Okay. Well, anyway, so the pig wrestle's over. Yeah, this has popped up at a couple different venues, this idea of animal cruelty because of for amusement. I certainly think farm animals are appropriate for slaughter under the right circumstances since we need food and that kind of thing, but I don't think that there's any torture that's associated with it, but this sounds like something torturous for the pig who's obviously protesting.
Well, see, on my way up here this morning, I passed a truck, big tractor-trailer rig carrying chickens in cages, and I thought, gosh, that's depressing. I know those chickens have to get to my dinner table, but I felt for them watching them go by, hundreds of them cramped in those little cages.
But you feel no pain for the pig and the wrestle off.
Well, the pig doesn't die. Those chickens are not going to survive the day. Wherever they're going, they're going to have their heads cut off, and they're going to be on our dinner plate next week.
The pig may want to die.
Well, he might.
After 6 wrestling matches.
Well, don't you think they change pigs? I mean, as one poor pig, I would agree with you. That's torture.
He would just give up whenever he saw the next person.
But I mean, there's nothing in that story that says the pigs actually are injured or have to be taken to vets or euthanized. Mm-hmm. Is there? I mean, was there any element of that story?
The longer version says that the pigs fight back. I mean, they scratch and claw and they try to run. They run themselves into the. What did it say? They run themselves into the mesh to try to get out.
Mesh,
and they'll even try to injure themselves trying to get out. I mean, to a certain extent.
Well,
I mean, not like breaking legs or anything that I know of anyway. But they desperately want to not be caught. Just through instinct. I don't think they really realize that they're just going to get flipped upside down and pinned. So you're causing pain for amusement for animals, and that bothers me. But, this is not to prevent me from climbing a tree in 2 months and hopefully a hapless deer comes my way. So.
Well, I mean, are you not torturing the deer if you don't kill it with your first shot? The poor animal's lying there and writhing in pain?
Death is possible in that case, yeah. So it's incumbent upon me to get back out to the range as soon as possible and make sure that my shooting is on, and that on the day of to make sure that I have a good clean shot. And
well, you do actually eat what you shoot, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you are doing it for food,
yep.
not for comedy or for... what do you call it?
Amusement.
Amusement. Thank you, Kevin.
Right.
I knew I'd catch it sooner or later.
I've said it 4 times, so eventually, even a grandfather can understand what we're talking about.
But I mean, I feel for the pigs, I guess, under certain circumstances. But it seems like if they aren't hurt and they aren't, damaged in some way permanently, and they, what happens to them afterwards? I mean, do they take them to a slaughterhouse and they wind up as pork chops?
I don't know, one of our listeners sends a note. What about the poor hot dogs that are in the River Festival hot dog eating contest? So, I don't think that's exactly the same thing.
Well, an animal had to die for that contest to be held, maybe more than one animal.
I don't know if you've seen the ingredients on hot dogs. Animals is really the least injured of the people involved in that transaction. It's the consumer that's most injured.
Look back to the Higgins Valley pigeon shoot. I have one of my closest friends. He's a wonderful guy, but when he was a child, he had the job of collecting those pigeons that weren't mortally injured and seeing that they were mortally injured. Yes, dispatching them on humanitarian grounds. Now, is that humanitarian?
Oh, I don't know. How humane is it? You stand
to wring a bird's neck?
I think you're like 30 yards away with a 12-gauge shotgun, and when your gun is pointed at the cage, you instruct a teenager to pull a rope that releases the pigeon directly in front of you, and then you shoot it. So there's some real humanity issues associated with pigeon shoots. Again, injuring animals for the sake of comedy is not funny.
Well, I mean, do people actually laugh at such events? They find that funny?
Just to the guy who misses.
Yeah, the guy who's the high scorer is happy that his opponent misses. Yeah, the Higgins pigeon shoot doesn't happen anymore because of the protest. But there are other pigeon shoots in Pennsylvania. You go down near the Philadelphia region in Chester, Montgomery, and maybe Bucks County, but certainly the lower part of Berks County, pigeon shoots still happen.
And a pig wrestle. We don't have any of those here in Pennsylvania.
Not that I know of. There's every so often there's different kind of animal wrestling out at ARDS, and I have spoken to Alan about that I really think that's inappropriate. So they've kind of started to get away from that.
What about
not because of what I said? I just think people
wrestle alligators. I mean, that's a dangerous thing. People do that.
Really?
And they could be injured. I mean, the pig is not as likely to hurt you, I don't think, as an alligator. If an alligator gets a hold of you, you're pretty much in big trouble.
I don't know. Pigs can be pretty nasty.
Can they?
I mean, I grew up next to a pig farm. They were not what I would call a friendly animal.
They bite you.
What were you doing over there? Giving them a hard time, Kevin?
Trying to feed them, actually. You would think that they would be nicer.
He was trying to see where the bacon section was on the pig. They're not marked with an outline like they are in the book.
I was going to say that it wasn't that way in my textbook.
Yeah, but not in real life.
But we're talking about speaking the same language. I'm going to change the topic a little bit.
Well, let's take a quick break.
All right. Well, then I'll change the topic when we come back from our break.
1-800-795-9565. Any thoughts about the new topic that folks may have, or is there any words about animal cruelty, this injuring animals for amusement?
Or pig wrestling.
Right, pig wrestling. 1-800-795-9565. What's the first sentence of your next item?
Gene Simmons.
Okay, Gene Simmons talking about learning the language. If you come to the USA, learn to speak English. It's what we talk. 1-800-795-9565.
Some days we do.
1-800-795-9565. Learn what we talk. The Lenape Solar email in basket populated by notes that were sent to On the Market at WKOK.com, and our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Hello, this is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know that through energy savings of almost $5 million per year, our customers are saving the environment the equivalent of over 98 million miles of driving and eliminating the annual carbon dioxide emissions of over 5,600 homes each year? Do you want to know how to be a part of these amazing numbers? Call us at 286-1496 or visit us online at Facebook or lenapesolar.com today and find out more about our exclusive Buy American partners for solar energy and energy-efficient lighting upgrades.
Now is the time to go to your Kubota dealer and get a brand new Kubota M-Series tractor during Kubota's Gear Up and Go sales event. If you're thinking about a rugged utility tractor and the year-round comfort of a Grand X-Cab, then a new Kubota has your name on it. With a smooth-running diesel engine and IntelliShift transmission, your Kubota dealer is the place to start. Right now, get your own Kubota M-Series tractor for 0 down and 0% financing for up to 60 months. So for a great deal, think orange at the Kubota Gear Up and Go sales event. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to Kubota.com.
0 down, 0% APR financing for terms up to 60 months on selected equipment now through September 30th, 2014. Not available for rental national accounts or government customers. 0% APR low rate financing not available with instant rebate offers. Financing available through Kubota Credit Corporation USA subject to credit approval. Other exceptions may apply. For more information, call toll-free 1-888-465-8268.
Join the discussion about news, sports, and more by following Newsradio 1070 WKOK on Facebook. You'll get breaking news updates, plus stories where you can weigh in with your opinions. Follow the news and let your voice be heard. Plus, win prizes on our Facebook-only contests. Follow us on Facebook today and join the discussion. with News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Do you see anything on this uniform indicating an officer? What does 3 up and 3 down mean to you, Airman? End of an inning.
All righty, thank you
welcome
very
back.
much. 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number.
That was my favorite line, by the way, from Good Morning Vietnam. He's trying to get him to salute the superior officer and treat him with respect, and he goes, "What's 3 up, 3 down mean to you? End of an inning?"
That's funny. 1-800-795-9565. The death of Robin Williams still being very much talked about. Now, Gene Simmons has a big mouth. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Yeah, I wasn't certain that I recalled this, but Gene Simmons is an immigrant to this country. His real name is Chaim Witz, and he immigrated with his mother when he was 8 years old. In the 56 years since then, Simmons has carved out a place in music history with his band Kiss and become a cultural icon. As an immigrant who found such monumental success, he has some blunt advice for others who come to America in search of prosperity. Let me see here. I'm telling you, this is a quote. So as an immigrant, I'm telling you, learn to speak, and reference to the deity, English. It is the key that will unlock the keys to the kingdom. Pressed on the matter, Simmons did not back down from his position. It's an interview he gave the Huffington Post, which is pretty far to the left. And, I guess they were appropriately shocked and appalled that he would say such a thing. But I noticed in some of the threads...
HuffPo is far to the left?
Yeah, Huffington Post is not exactly a right-wing publication. I know this. You probably read it and think, boy, they're conservative, but us conservatives who read it think the other way.
I didn't realize that. That's bulletin number 1, but let's continue.
Well, the other thing that was on there was a thread of conversations afterwards, and some other people pointed out, and I was impressed by this because I never really thought about it. What other country can you go to where you call a business and they say press 1 for my language, 2 for yours? That doesn't really happen a lot in other countries. You go to another country, you learn to speak their language. And English, we've never officially declared English as our national language, although there has been legislation introduced to do it. But it is the primary language we speak here, and there are good and valid reasons why everybody in this country should speak the same language. It's just, for example, I chair the state's, co-chair the state's Emergency Communications Committee, and one of the things that we've been discussing is the FCC is looking at how, the warnings that we give in English here now when the little unit goes off in the back room and there's a weather alert, that we might be required to broadcast them in foreign languages as well. Well, the important thing is that we live in a country where English is the predominant language, and that's what we should learn to speak. Every other immigrant group that came here learned to speak English, and they assimilated to a great extent into our culture. But now we're being asked to be sensitive to other people's cultures, other people's native tongues, when they left their country to come here where a language that they don't speak is spoken. Now, if I were going to go to Pakistan, for example, and earn a living, or to live there, decided it was such a great place I wanted to live there, would I be right to expect them to speak English, or would I learn to speak their language?
Well, I think sensitivity sucks in your view, but I think you could be sensitive, and if you're traveling to a country where international visitors commonly inhabit, you will see that there are multiple languages, and the phones do have opportunities, or businesses would have opportunities for you to press different numbers for languages.
Really? Name me one.
Canada.
Well, Canada's as bad as we are.
Oh, are they? Okay, so other good countries.
But
That's the only place I've been.
Canada does speak 2 languages, and their culture is a dual language culture, but it's not English and Spanish, it's English and French.
Okay, so that's okay as long as the Romance language. Or I guess
no,
Spanish
I'm saying that's the way the country was established. It was established with French immigrants and Canadian immigrants, and the areas they choose to maintain their ethnic culture. But it is a geographic part of the country. There was a movement to separate Quebec from the rest of Canada, and there are still Quebec separatists who believe that they should be separated. And why? Because the common language doesn't unite them. And don't you have to admit, even as a somewhat liberal person, that a common language unites you, and it makes so many things so much easier?
So where is this assumption coming from that people that come to the U.S. don't want to learn the language?
Because they don't make an effort to learn it. If we make it easy for them, let me finish. If we make it easy for them not to learn, if we accommodate them by speaking their language, we don't give them an incentive. What's your incentive if you can get by without it?
Folks, help me set this guy straight. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. I'd love to hear from everybody. The Lenape Solar email in basket is open. Simply email on the market, WKOK.com. Why would you help someone who comes to the U.S., who you've welcomed to the U.S. as a nation anyway? Certainly there's many individuals who aren't interested in any new residents around here. But why would you take somebody who you've welcomed and not accommodate them until they learn the language?
Well, isn't accommodating them teaching them the language? Wouldn't that be accommodating them?
Well, I think people who come to the U.S. do slowly learn the language. Maybe not as fast as you and your friends at the Coffee Klatch, conservative friends, want. And, of course, you would
What do you
lock...
think, we're a group of sinister people sitting around plotting the demise of liberals?
That seems a little far-fetched, but not totally beyond the realm of imagination.
Well, why is it wrong to? I mean, just look at the practical implications of it. You want somebody, someone buys a product and the instructions are in English and they can't figure out how to use it. Someone watches a TV program that says there's an emergency or a news broadcast and they can't understand it. There are practical reasons for it. It's not just being anti-immigrant. I'm sure when my people came over and your people came over, they had trouble with the language initially, but they learned it. And I think that what our obligation is to provide as much education in English as we can for people from other countries who come here and live here, hopefully legally, and want to assimilate into our culture and our society.
So you want to pay for English as a second language efforts?
No, I want to pay for English as your primary language and how we get you to that point.
Well, but that's the approach is to teach people English as a second language.
But hopefully they will use it as their first language.
So
yes, I do want to spend the money to teach them.
Okay, so here...
In answer to your question, I will spend the money.
Ultra-conservative Joe is interested in spending more money on Hispanics who come to visit us. Is that what I'm hearing here?
I'm hearing, no, I don't care where they're from, Pakistan, Spain, Italy, wherever, Ireland. We need to teach the immigrants who come to this country English so that they can assimilate into our society.
There was no English-speaking classes when your grandparents came to the U.S. Oh, where's the English-speaking class?
There have always been classes, people teaching you English, but you had to pay for it yourself. I'm willing to say the government ought to pay for it.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. Joe's interested in opening the gate just a sliver so that an English-speaking Hispanic can get through.
Look at somebody like Gene Simmons. Now, isn't he, whether you like him or not?
What did he say?
He said,
the man from KISS.
You don't want to upset anybody by saying, learn to speak, expletive deleted, English. So as an immigrant, I'm telling you, learn to speak English. It's the key that will unlock the keys to the kingdom. And he's right. Now, here's somebody who came over here 56 years ago. He's learned to speak the language. He is an immigrant. He assimilated in our society. He's become fabulously wealthy.
You call the getup that he wears assimilating into our society?
Well, he
worked
has
pretty well for him, actually.
Well, that's true as a capitalist.
The whole band it worked well for. And, he's got his own TV show.
Is that his band?
KISS? Well, he's the front man, isn't he, Kevin? I don't know.
I don't know if he formed it. I'd have to look that up. I'm not sure.
No, but he certainly is well known in that regard. He has his own TV show.
His band.
Right. So, I mean, he's speaking rather bluntly, but no more bluntly than Bill Cosby did a few years ago when he talked about the need for black fathers to, be more involved in their kids' lives, and talked about how the need to assimilate more to become, I don't know, more, what's the right word? Well, obviously, you're not following my chain of thought. Well, yeah, more of a father figure. But, I mean, he spoke harshly and bluntly, and so is Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need to speak that way to people, to just let them know there is another way, another path, and one you might want to consider, and one that would be to your benefit. What would be the drawback to having everybody who lives in this country speak English? Give me the drawback.
Well, the biggest problem is that we're going to be paying for classes soon.
Or you who want to give everything else away.
Don't we pay for
anything away?
Wait, don't we pay for classes now in English?
There are English as a second language classes. I believe there's a fee associated with it, but there are offered by the CSIU.
I believe that you actually have to learn English if you are of the age of schooling. You need 4 years of it in high school. I know that for sure.
Chris, I already pushed the button. You were already on the mark before you even started talking.
I'm already on the mark. I think it's a kind of a phony issue. I don't know anybody advising immigrants not to learn English. Is there anybody who says, no, don't learn English?
Well,
their own lack of motivation if they don't have a reason to learn it.
This is Joe's premise. Hispanics are lazy
No,
and
I
don't want to
didn't-
learn
that
English.
is not- that is not what I said, Mark.
Immigrants not to learn English.
I didn't say that, Chris. I didn't say that,
I
Mark.
know, but that seems to be what you're arguing about.
That's the undercurrent.
Because that's what was Gene Simmons' statement: learn English.
Right.
In essence, right?
That's
and
exactly a
do you know anybody
statement.
who's saying not to learn English?
Well, my point is, and I think Simmons' point is, that if you don't have an incentive to learn it, you might not. If everybody in your home, everybody you deal with in the neighborhood you live in, for whatever reason, speaks another language, what's your incentive to learn to speak English?
And the other answer is that we've always made accommodations when there were large groups of people in areas of the United States that didn't speak the language.
What kind of accommodations are you talking about?
Cleveland had German high schools and German schools. New York had German and Italian schools at one point.
And what happened to those schools?
And you have Chinatowns that exist today.
Chris, what happened to those schools?
Well, as the first generation died out, they weren't needed anymore.
Right. Why? Because they learned to speak English.
Right.
They probably
After
taught
a
it in the
generation or
schools.
20 years, they learned English.
Right.
That's what I said. They made accommodations when it was good for it was worthwhile doing for us as a people.
Well, we don't disagree then, because I think
That's
it's...
what I called up to say. Don't argue with me about that.
I'm sorry.
That's what I called up and said. The first thing I said.
I'm sorry, we disagree so often, Chris. I'm astounded that we actually agree.
I said it's a kind of a phony disagreement you're pretending to have because nobody advises them not to learn English.
Okay.
But that making accommodations while there's large groups of people that only speak English seems to make sense.
If the goal is to assimilate them into our society, I agree with you completely.
I think that sort of happens automatically in America.
1-800-795-9565. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate your call.
Much appreciated. Dave, you're on the mark. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning. Hey, one of the things that's missing now versus 100 years ago, 150 years ago, back then when the people came to America, they wanted to become American. And so they wanted to drop their German and so forth. But if you get to check in here in the local area, I know in some of my ancestors' people, there was some involved with the church over at Catawissa. And the elders, or some of the elders, wanted to have the service in English because we're in America. Some of them didn't. The church split. Along with that, the family split, including the way they spelled their names and so forth. Because we're in America now. We're not in Germany anymore. We should give up the German language because we're Americans. And that's the difference between the immigrants now and the immigrants 150 years ago.
That's a good point.
They still want to be Italians. They still want to be Mexicans. They still want to be whatever. And they don't want to be Americans. Well, if you are so glad to be the Mexican, whatever, Italian, whatever, then stay there so you can keep speaking that and keep your traditions. Don't come to enforce your traditions and your language on another country.
How many?
It would be the same thing as us going to Germany and demanding everything is spoken in English now.
I think this is a myth that immigrants don't want to learn English.
Well, no one's saying they don't want to learn. I'm just saying they don't have an incentive to learn in many cases.
I don't agree with that.
There's not the incentive because if we don't learn to speak English, boy, somebody's going to supply a translator for us, or we're going to print books in this or that or the next one.
All right. Thank you very much.
And so, okay, we're going to do this in Spanish. Well, what about all the other languages? How many forms does the state going to print for how many languages?
Yeah, and if you call for help on your income tax, you can get it in 35 languages.
Yeah, but what if you're one of the 40th or 50th language?
Right. Well, you're right.
Then you're being discriminatory against the people.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying, and some of the writers here are turning this into an immigration thing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people coming to this country. I think there are good and practical reasons why, if you're living here, you should learn to speak English.
Okay, 1-800.
True.
Oops, go. Thank you, Dave.
And the same thing. If I moved to Northumberland, I shouldn't expect it to be like Harrisburg.
Right.
I should be respectful of Northumberland because that's where I live now.
All right. Thank you very much, buddy.
Well, I'm from Harrisburg, so I agree with you.
1-800-795-9565. Can I take a break, Kevin? I see you're working on the screen. All right, 1-800-795-9565. One of our listeners sends us a note, says, I am so confused. I listened to some ramblings of folks not wanting to learn English. Where does he get that idea? Where's Joe getting his information? I think it's absurd to base an assumption on a few folks Joe thinks he knows. I bet 95% of immigrants learn English.
I love that.
And
The
I
stories
think
about
that estimate is
stories
low.
about Gene Simmons, not about me.
Right, but the premise...
But he brings up a good point. There are people who don't speak English living in this country and who aren't learning it. Whether they want to admit that or not, it's
Prove
the truth.
it. I don't think that's true. 1-800-795-9565 is the open phone. We'd love to hear from you. How many people come to the U.S. and don't want to learn the language? And have your facts lined up.
Didn't say they don't want to, said they don't have an incentive to. There's a difference.
Oh, brother. 1-800-795-9565. We're up to a rousing discussion here with Joe McGranahan, our co-host. I'm Mark Lawrence. Kevin Herr, the greatest engineer, among several galaxy. 1-800-795-9565. We will be right back.
As the sun was setting over my son's blanket fort, a smile crossed my face because I had dinner covered. Earlier at Walmart, my senses told me my family would want something delicious. Coca-Cola and a market-side rotisserie chicken from the deli answered the call.
Mom, can I have some more?
Looks like another dinner saved by Mom the Incredible.
Find the effortless meal your family deserves at the Walmart Deli with a tender market-side rotisserie chicken, 2 pounds of savory potato salad, and icy cold 2-liter Coke for $9.50 or less. Tax deposit and CRV not included.
The battery, modern-day fire, powering everything from remote-controlled cars to the car in your garage. So when your car battery is reaching the end of the line, or you're wondering whether it is, stop by Advance Auto Parts. We'll test your old one for you, free of charge. And if you purchase a new Autocraft battery, we'll install it for free. Only if you'd like us to, of course. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
Sports medicine at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical is for the athletic and the active. So if you're a warrior on the field or in the backyard, our team of board-certified surgeons, specially trained nurses, and physical therapists provide comprehensive care using the latest technology and minimally invasive procedures to get you back to your to-do list. Did you strain your shoulder cleaning the gutters or twist your knee mowing the grass? Call the sports medicine experts at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical at 1-800-598-5096.
Precious moments. Quiet moments. New beginnings. Your home, your memories, thanks to Fogarty Homes. Fogarty makes home building faster, better, and more affordable with Fogarty's turnkey building program. You'll save on stress, time, and money. Look to Fogarty Homes whether it's your first, second, third, or last home. Great financing with preferred lenders is available. Call 570-523-3203 or take a tour at FogartyHomes.com. Building dreams since 1968 on Route 15 just south of Lewisburg.
Here are some sobering statistics from a national insurance company. 82% of teens use cell phones while driving. 48% of girls are likely to speed 10 miles per hour over the limit versus boys 36%. And 76% of teens say they feel unsafe while another teen drives. Let's empower teens to promote smart driving. Tell them to take action if someone's been drinking, is speeding, or using their phone.
This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including Newsradio 1070 WKOK and Sealands Grove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
Steelers head into a series of practices with the Bills. They also have another preseason game coming up. Dave Bryan covers the Steelers on a regular basis. We'll talk about them this afternoon, 3 to 5, News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Now that is the music of KISS. That is the exhortation, and that Gene Simmons is most well known, but his conservative remarks lately saying it is time for people to come to the U.S. to learn English, period. End of stories. That's all there is to it. We have an open phone to talk about this. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Joe feels as though there must be some subcurrent of individuals who have no incentive to learn English. To that end, we have 3 remarks, 2 emails, and then Kevin.
Well, actually, I wanted to clarify something. It's not really
first
a remark.
Kevin, and then 2 remarks.
Well, because this is actually something we talked about earlier involving the band. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley were co-founders of the band in New York City back in about 1971, 72.
Good. Well, that very appropriately fits before these 2 emails.
Right.
So thank you for for being the producer that's supposed to be making these decisions anyway. Dave and Joe, back up your statements about people not wanting to learn English. You're just making that up again.
I think he's making that up.
Says Dan. Oh, this is ridiculous, this idea that people come to the U.S. and don't want to learn English. All right, and finally, another emailer says, Joe,
it's the same emailer.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I can't see it. My phone is in the way. Oh, it is Stan. Okay, thank you. It says, Joe, your assumption is incorrect, that people come to the U.S. and don't want to learn the language. Most immigrants learn as fast as possible to speak the language. Accommodating people who are in the process of learning and the visitors who are just visiting is just good business and good manners, says Stan. I agree with that
what's wrong with my idea of providing the training for people who come here to learn to speak it? If I'm wrong, there wouldn't be anybody to take those classes, would there?
If I'm wrong, there wouldn't be anybody. I don't know. It's confused.
Because they'd all be learning English without me providing them that free training and that education.
I've never actually learned the language quite as well as you. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can explain it to you in that case. I tried to make it as simple as possible.
But I think the reason that there's 35 languages on the IRS site, if that sentence is true that somebody else said earlier, is because there are many people in the U.S. either in the process of learning the language or maybe who are just visiting here and will never have a full grasp of the language, but paying your taxes is critically important. So it's necessary that the U.S. pay translators to convert the forms into the proper language so that people can pay their taxes so that we can extract more tax money from them.
Okay, well, let's boil this down to its essence. The essence is the faster people come to this country and learn to speak English, the better off we all are.
Yes.
And our earlier caller, I think, was right, because many people come to this country and want to continue their traditions and their cultural heritage.
Untrue.
That's not untrue. You know very well that's not untrue.
What? I do not know. I think people continue to embrace and enjoy the enriching ways that their cultures have raised them up. I know people who are Italian Americans, but strangely enough, even though that name doesn't prove it, they're Americans first.
Okay.
But they think their rich heritage in Italy and the foods and the parenting and the heredity are marvelously important.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's like saying Little Italy or Chinatown in big cities isn't an important part of the culture of our country. It is. And the immigrant groups who came here certainly have contributed, well, we're all immigrants, but have contributed immensely to what this country is today. Yeah, unless you're a Native American. But we don't know that they didn't come across the land bridge from Asia that supposedly existed before the continents divided. So maybe there was no Native American at all. Who knows? But I mean, here you have an instance where there's a difference between maintaining a reverence for your culture and immersing yourself in it in a new country. You know, I'm looking at it from the standpoint that, yes, I have certain pride in Irish traditions because my family's from Ireland, but I consider myself to be an American. I don't hyphenate that. I'm not Irish American, just an American. And if my people if I came here and I didn't learn to speak English, I would be learning. I would make it my absolute top priority to learn to speak the language. As I would if I moved to Germany and was going to live there. I would want to learn how to speak German, and I am woefully inadequate at it. I had about 6 words and I'm done. You know, and I took 4 years of high school Spanish, and I probably could get along with a little bit of a conversation. You know, and certainly it's nothing wrong with learning other languages. I just think that we need to make an emphasis on it in this country, since English is our de facto national language.
So you want to educate everybody in any deficit that we can identify, whether it's English or math or science or just English, just language?
First of all, before we can do anything else, we need to be able to communicate. And the easiest way to find someone to communicate with in this country is to speak English. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely.
All right. We finally found something we agree on.
Unless you're in Little Italy. Good morning, Larry. You're on the mark.
Good morning. I like to read history books, and I came across one from the late 1800s. If you read it, the Germans were talked about in the same vein as Hispanics are today. They wanted to maintain their culture, stick together, keep their own language, form their own schools, and they were persecuted for it. I believe that some Hispanics and all cultures have that same desire. They come here for opportunities, but they don't necessarily want to assimilate into the melting pot. And I don't think we're ever going to change that. It was that way probably with other cultures in coal mining towns throughout this state. So I think that's something we have to accept. because we have public schools now, we should teach English, and as generations go on, they will have to realize they need to learn it for economic reasons.
Okay. Yeah,
I agree with you.
How many people are in the U.S. as visitors or new citizens that have no interest at all in learning any English?
Well, I can't tell you that number, but I'm sure there's quite a bit.
Based on what?
Based on the fact they don't learn it.
Yeah, based on what? How do you know that to be true? I just don't think that's true. I think folks that come to the U.S., I think they may immerse themselves in their existing culture, their existing language. They may go to, well, there's no more German churches. They might go to a Hispanic church. There certainly are those kind of things around here. There's, of course, Lutheran churches around here that are offering services in Spanish. But I think that's so that there is 100% clear understanding of everything that's happening at this service, not so that the person doesn't have to use language. I think we may be misinterpreting why somebody would want to go to a Spanish-speaking service or to have a form printed out in Spanish. But you know for a fact that there are, quote, quite a few, unquote, visitors or new citizens to this country that have no interest in learning English.
You asked me a number. I said I don't know the number. But you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I can give you an example, and I'm sure people don't change that much. My grandmother's mother was from Germany. She had no desire in learning English. And so I'm just making a statement that there are people. I may have said quite a few. That is not something you can quantify.
Yeah, okay, and I'm going to agree with you on that. And I've seen anecdotal information about that. Unlike my grandparents, who were German Americans and did learn English, and that's all I ever talked to them in.
Well, there must be
English.
a government. There must be some government.
Thank you, Larry.
Government website that will tell you how many people live here that don't speak the language.
Well, the U.S. Census Bureau probably
has that. The Census
has
Bureau, right. I mean, when we start printing the census forms in 35 different languages, then I'd say we have a real problem. I mean, just face the practicality of it. As I've said before, there are practical reasons why people who live here should speak English.
And practically speaking, I think there are ways, as Larry so kindly pointed out, of people to come to the U.S. and to not learn the language. But they need a buffer.
But the problem
they need a
isn't
translator.
The visitors and the new immigrants you're talking about. It's people who have been here for years and haven't learned. And there are those people. You ask anyone in the major cities, and they will tell you there are enclaves where people speak their native tongue and have no reason, simply because they can get everything they need in that language in the area in which they live.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. I'm not disputing that. Certainly what Larry said is 100% true, that there are individuals who don't want to learn the language. But I just think that it's an asterisk in our society. It is a sliver of individuals, and those individuals are either surrounded by people of the same language or somebody who's a willing translator at any given time.
Well, you pick up the phone today and you dial a business, and then they'll say, for Español, marque dos.
Okay.
You know, and that indicates that there are a certain number of people. To make it worth their while to do that, there must be so many people.
Or a law, one or the other.
It's not a law.
All right. Chris sends us a note, says, how many of Joe's ancestors went on to learn Iroquois or Algonquin?
Actually, we spoke Apache.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, that's fantastic. Are you telling the truth?
No.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, no, they were more interested in killing Indians than learning their language. Let's see. One of our listeners says, Mark depends completely on the classic straw man argument. Instead of responding to what words Joe uses to express himself, he would rather interpret his meaning in some other way in order to distort it into something else to which he can condescend.
Well, someone's got you right on the mark.
Holy smoke. I've never been analyzed so accurately in such a short amount of sentences. Yes, there no argument there. You're absolutely right. Dan from Snyder County, thanks for calling 1-800-795-9565. You're on the mark.
I suggest that there are a lot of people in this country that are interested in learning the language, and they are that way for generations. You could look at especially some of the major cities and urban areas, New York City, L.A., Miami. Go to Little Havana. There's people that live there. They have they ain't never leaving Little Havana. They speak Spanish. Go to South Central L.A. Go to different areas in major cities all across the country. In our own country, look at the Pennsylvania Dutch. We were bringing up the German thing. Now, they do learn English, but you get around a lot of people, Pennsylvania Dutch people, and your English, as they say, they will speak Pennsylvania Dutch. So they have, an interest in English for business purposes, but beyond that, you get to tight sex with those people, and that's how they speak. I've been in those places, and if they don't know you except as an Englishman, they will speak Pennsylvania Dutch. Look at television, for example. Why is Univision and Gala TV Spanish channels growing in popularity in America? If you're coming here and you want to learn the language, just watch our channels. But yet those programs, those channels are growing more and more and more. And I suggest it's because there are a large segment of people in the country who have no intentions of it. Bring your culture, bring all that, that's fine. But I agree. Learn to speak Spanish. I saw on TV a little bit ago somewhere in California, and there's a lot of wackos in California, they took a school district out there and they made the #1 language Spanish. They made U.S. citizen children speak English, learn to speak Spanish so they could intermingle with the Spanish who came here. Well, that's kind of goofy, but that's what they did. So I suggest there are many, many people who choose not to, and depending on where they live and never leave in those communities, they could care less about speaking English. So,
all right. Well, thank you.
You're right.
And are those anomalies in the U.S., or is that a widespread trend that we become a bilingual nation rather than a single language nation?
Well, I've traveled a decent amount of places. I've gone to other countries, and they pick up English because they know, especially Americans, we come there and bring money and make their countries wealthy, and they're not foolish. But when you come here, and not to beat a dead horse, but then when you come here illegally, someone called in, or there was a note, you said something about they should learn because they're paying their taxes. Well, I'd like to sit down and see the stats on that. There's a lot of reasons. Yes, we should all be speaking English, but you came to our country, learn the language. If we go to Mexico or wherever, and you go live there, go down to South America, don't speak, you just speak English. Well, you're not going to get along too well because everybody speaks Spanish. You'll want to learn the language. But there are pockets, and I believe a lot of them, that we think that aren't there, that do exist, where people don't have an incentive. So he's right. If there's no incentive for you to do it, and you can get by your everyday life, why would you? I mean, I turned the Spanish channels on. I watched because I had 1 year of Spanish, and I understand a very little bit of it, but it's like, okay. But if I lived in Mexico or wherever, I think I'd make it a priority to learn the language if I'm going to live there and try to exist there. So,
right.
My opinion.
All right. So
I agree with you, Dan.
And
Thank you.
And what Dan is saying is that I'm only half right. That yes, there are individuals who are interested in learning English as soon as possible, as Joe says, but not as many. Oops, I'm sorry. Goodbye. Not as many as I might think.
Well, I mean, look at generation
or
after
plus,
generation.
there are people that are going to just stay Spanish-speaking or German-speaking or Dutch-speaking, period.
And he's right. I didn't think about that, but there are Spanish-language television channels in this country, Spanish-language radio stations. You know, if your goal was to assimilate into our society, then you wouldn't be utilizing that.
All right, we're going to take our last break of the day. We'd love to have you on the phone at the other end of it. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. I can't give the phone number in Spanish because I only know a few of my numbers anymore. So, ocho... What's 0, 0?
We don't have enough time for you to say the whole number in Spanish and figure it out.
All right, well, in that case...
Ocho, nueve, cinco.
I'm going to take the break in tres, dos, unos.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
It's all about smiles with Dr. Jenkins and his staff and his grateful dental patients.
I really like girls that are here. They treat you so nice, and it's just like you're part of a family. And that makes you feel comfortable because they make you feel relaxed.
When I come into Dr. Jenkins' office, it's like a second family. I'm immediately surrounded by people who care. Everybody knows you by name. It's completely warm.
Doctor and the staff here are wonderful, and I'm so glad that I decided to come here. Everybody treats you like you're one of the family, and they seem excited about what they can do for you and what your teeth look like when they're done, and they really care about what they're doing here. I was really worried, but they were really nice here, and they made me feel relaxed.
I've enjoyed coming here. The staff at Dr. Jenkins is wonderful. Everyone is so kind and gentle and so patient. It's just a wonderful experience.
24 years of dentistry. Dr. Carl Jenkins in Watsontown. Visit us at smilesbyjenkins.com.
Susquehanna Valley Country Club has announced their 2015 new member dues schedule. Enroll by August 31st and become a member immediately. All you need to pay monthly is your food and beverage minimum through this December. Your dues begin January 2015. Dues rates are as low as $25 per month for a social membership and $100 per month for golf memberships. Find out online how you can win a new driver, putter, or a $100 food certificate to their grill room at the end of the month. Be part of the new Susquehanna Valley Country Club. Visit golfsvcc.com or call 570-743-1714 for an appointment.
Okay, that's really very good. I'd like to try it just one more time, and then we'll call it a day. I met her on a Monday, and my heart stood still. Somebody told me that her name was Jill.
All right. Kevin says it's from the movie Stripes.
Yep.
And there's some Spanish.
There was another one. I forget what. The fingertips of the Wolverine are bleeding. Was that from Stripes too, Kevin?
I don't remember that one.
Okay. From another movie.
I just remember that one with, was it Ziski? Is that
Ziski,
Russell?
yeah.
Russell Ziski was the character name Harold Ramis played?
One of our listeners says, Teddy Roosevelt said, in the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant who comes here in good faith becomes an American and assimilates himself to us, he shall be treated on an exact equality with everyone else, for it is an outrage to discriminate against any such man because of creed or birthplace or origin. But this is predicated upon the person's becoming in every facet an American and nothing but an American. There can be no divided allegiance here. Any man who says he's an American but something else also isn't an American at all. We have room for but one flag, the American flag. We have room for but one language here, and it is the English language. And we have room for but one sole loyalty, and that is the loyalty to the American people.
And doesn't that bring us completely in full circle, because Robin Williams portrayed Teddy Roosevelt in Night at the Museum?
And if we aren't that, and you're trying to inject levity into this, I want to be serious for a moment. If we aren't that, we aren't a nation. Well, what are we if we have 60? I mean, we're a melting pot, yes, but we all melted. And what is the implication of melting? That you take disparate parts and blend them together. And you don't blend together if you remain apart or you remain separate from what we are.
And I think all of that is wonderful, and I salute with you when you say it. But the fact of the matter is, it is overstated to say that it's a problem in the U.S. that folks don't want to learn English. I think that's a myth. There are certain individuals in enclaves that surround themselves with individuals that speak other than English, but it's an anomaly, and it is not what most people who come to the U.S. want to do.
Thank you, Mary Poppins.
Thank you, yeah. And Marktopia.
Marktopia lives and well as well.
We speak English. Thank you, Kevin.
No, and Marktopia, you speak whatever you want to.
WKOK Sunbury.